you a Missouri patient looking for other options besides your local dispensary? Have you considered finding a caregiver but found the process to be confusing and hard to navigate? We understand, and that's why we created Farmers Market, Missouri's freelance marketplace for licensed caregivers to conveniently offer their services to Missouri patients. Sign up today at farmersmarket.com.
What's going on, everybody?
Dab in.
It is dab in time.
Woo! Best time of the week, the dab in time.
Dabbing in with a little Skittles, diamonds and sauce.
Ooh, that's really good. I got some
Courtesy
cocoa.
of Deplugged Dispensaries.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.
I got me some Cocoa Labs.
People
I
are
got
gonna
some
be trying to Google that.
right. I got me some mac and cheese caviar. Delicious.
Mac and cheese.
Yeah, mac and cheese caviar. Picked this up over at Kansas City Cannabis.
I wonder if that's Bubba, Captain Redbeard's.
Captain Redbeard? Maybe.
It's not Bubba. Mac and cheese.
Maybe they just left the Bubba out of it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Get that up there a little bit.
Who knows?
Oh, there we go. Now I got it.
You getting it?
Yeah, now I got it.
What's everybody medicating with?
I've got my mystery,
Still on the mystery stuff?
my mystery propers. Yeah.
Oh, damn. If you don't cough, you don't get off.
and that's science.
That's science.
Right.
That's bro science.
So
And bro science is science. It's bro science, but it's science.
it has the word science right
It
in
does, right in it.
So-
It's not even the first word. So it's not saying that it's like science dominant.
Yeah, it's not science.
It's bro dominant.
Bro,
Bro science. So it's bro dominant science.
Bro dominant science.
Oh, man.
Okay. Hashtag trademark bro dominant science.
It's shit through years of trial and error. We almost can imagine that this really is true.
I swear.
That's bro science.
I swear it does it. Go
It does, man.
Get the ice
It
cubes.
does.
Right.
Put the ice cubes
right
in the
now.
soil.
Put it in the dark for the 48 hours.
Put it in the dark.
Oh man, we're
Do
gonna
it.
catch hell for this. People,
No, it's okay,
hey,
man.
That's,
I mean, hey, you know,
that works.
some believe it, some don't. If
Right.
you can't laugh at it, what's it worth? You know,
Right,
I mean,
right.
It is bro science, man.
Bro
And-
science.
While you're
Bro
lugging
science is
in the
science.
bags of ice, you're like,
Right, yeah. I mean, you went to Quick Trip and you bought 40 fucking bags of ice in December, okay? What are you using ice for, son? We got a party coming.
Yeah.
It's Chief Sunday,
right.
Yeah.
but it's Monday.
It's cold enough you can leave
Yeah.
it outside.
Yeah, getting
Wait,
a
no,
head
it's
start.
not.
Not
It's
now.
December and it's 75 degrees.
Getting a head start.
I'll ask the questions here, sir. Just ring me up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It ain't nothing like going through Walmart and buying 150 gallons of RO water in individual gallons.
Yes.
Right. Oh, man.
Give me a hell yeah if you know what I'm talking about.
Man.
Back in the hydroponic days. Oh, I'm sorry, coral reef days.
Coral reef
when I grew
days.
coral reefs.
Yeah. When I grew tomatoes in my basement, Mom.
Yeah, tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's a science project, Mom.
Oh,
So
it-
anyway, we got a pretty good show tonight. We don't have really anything much planned.
Nope. like
We're going to
normal.
talk about bloom boosters.
Yeah.
You know, so we're organic guys, and everybody's always asking us bloom boosters. And the other day, I got a question about coconut water. I love coconut water. We're going to talk about coconut water and why it's good for your plants, and just a little bit about nutrient balance in the blooming phase, because I want to try to maybe dispel a few myths, bro science, about bloom boosters and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff, and then we got a question on spider mites. Once you get them, you can. The old saying, "Once you get them, you always got them." That's like saying, you know, once you had an addiction to alcohol, you're always addicted. Some people, if that's the mentality you want to have, cool. If it's not, you can get rid of spider mites. You can rid your premises and your grow of mites. It is not easy. It is very much not easy, and it takes a long time to do it, or it takes a complete clean out. But we're going to talk about all that and, you know, some other stuff.
Yeah. Got some other stuff.
But right now, we're going to go for a word for our sponsors. So, Gabriel, Dave's not here.
Welcome to Kansas City Cannabis, your hometown, locally owned and operated cannabis dispensary. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff will guide you through your journey to wellness. Patients first is our guiding mantra, and we'll continue to bring quality, affordable medicine to the patients of Missouri. Kansas City Cannabis Company, inspiring wellness. Now open in Kearney and Blue Springs. Coming soon to Lake Lotawana and Excelsior Springs. For location, hours, and current menu, visit kccannabis.org.
All right.
What up?
Welcome
We're back.
Yeah.
Dab in, dab out.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
And don't forget, we got all of our giveaways tonight. Don't forget to tag someone. You have until the news kicks off, until we switch over to the news, to tag someone to get on the wheel at the end of the show.
What do you get if you get on the wheel?
We got some AOD beans tonight.
AOD beanies.
Beanies, beans.
Beanies.
Beans and beanies.
Beans and beanies.
There you go, beans and beanies. And maybe a couple slaps in there, too.
Yeah, so, dude, I should have put up that picture today. You guys caught our smoke sesh today.
Yeah. Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
and Skylar Hoover was here. Skylar was sporting his new top shelf beanie.
Yep.
So I think we got one top shelf beanie left. So we're going to hang on to that for our monthly giveaway at the end of the month, and I'm going to order some more. So
They didn't last very long, for sure.
everybody wants one.
Yep.
It's cool.
They are cool.
So and we
cold out.
No, they're not cool. They're warm. They're very warm.
They are warm. They keep your head warm, that's for sure. And
Yes,
I know.
they do.
And I have a
Yes,
good
they
testing
do.
ground because I got no hair. So it provides no insulation, no dead airspace. You know what I
for
mean?
sure. I go into
So-
a store. You stay
Well,
in
I
the store
wouldn't
long
say
enough.
there's no dead airspace, but not between the hair and my.
The skin.
Yeah.
Need that insulating layer.
There you go. Yeah. So right on.
Oh,
So,
man.
but So
And then, of course, we got our What's Changed, and we have our trivia coming up. So,
what's changed in trivia, Wheel of Dank,
yep.
everything,
sorts of
all
good
that good stuff. So cool. We're gonna give away some souvenirs.
Which
Yes.
ones?
We
Alien sugar
sugar,
cookies.
alien
Oh,
sugar
okay.
cookies, and then
Nice,
with
alien
a couple
sugar
slaps
cookies.
and the beanies. So cool giveaway tonight. So right on. And who knows
Yeah.
what else will happen on Top Shelf?
We don't even know.
I don't even know half the time. So, but yeah. So the topic that we didn't get to last week, and I don't even remember why. What was going on last
Because
week?
we got
Literally
medicated.
forgot. Like other things just filled the time.
Yeah.
And we just forgot.
We got a little medicated.
Okay.
And then afterward, we were like,
Damn, we should have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, who was here last week? Wasn't somebody here?
Yes, we had someone here.
Holy crap, man! This is bad. We had.
killing me now.
Is there like
Dang
a
it.
rehab we can go to, so where we can get this back? So we're gonna have to look.
Let's
back.
go to our viewers. Who do we have on
Yeah,
last
who do
week?
This is bad. I just can't remember.
I can't
So
either.
ran out of time medicating. Mike Harrell said so.
Great
Okay.
show.
Anyway,
We didn't have anybody. I remember
No,
we
we
talked
didn't.
about the VA.
yeah.
I don't remember
we
what
did.
else we talked
Yes, we did. We had Tommy Chong on. You're right.
about. Oh, yeah, we had Tommy
Yeah,
Chong.
we did. We had Tommy Chong on last week.
mean, obviously.
So anyway, that was super cool. That was a
Yes.
gift to us from Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. So, but Dave's not here tonight, so it's perfect.
And
But
it's- obviously, the medication worked pretty well last
oh my
Tuesday.
God, dude! Evidently,
We forgot about Tommy Chong. How could we have done that?
I don't know. So let's talk about bloom boosters and organic growing.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think the best way to give yourself rock hard nugs and frosty colas is in bloom if you're growing organically? The specific question that I got, and I'm drinking Mountain Valley spring water, sparkling minerals. No, I mean, that was very Truman Show. I just kind of went there for some reason.
product
My
placement.
mind, I don't know what happened.
So it's
They're
mineral
not even
spring
paying
water,
me, so I just lost money.
right?
Anyway, so yeah, mineral spring water. But anyway, so the question was posed last week at some point about coconut water and is it good for your plants? The simple answer is yes. The complex answer is hell yes. Okay.
Complex answer. I like that one.
So, but where do we get to that? Okay, so you even went ahead and threw some
Yep.
coconut water in your plants this
Yep.
week. What'd
I
you
did
do? So exactly how'd you do it?
So I took the can, opened it up, poured about half the can around. I'm in a 10-gallon pot, so I've got a very large pot. Poured about half the can around the base, right around the base of the plant, and then watered in about a half a gallon to push that down. And it was 48 hours later I could notice my plants were a little hungry, so they were fading a little.
Right.
48 hours later, they were right back to being dark green.
Right.
It was crazy. I'd never seen something like that, at least since doing growing organic.
And that's potassium.
Yeah.
I mean, coconut water is like, depending on the brand you buy, some of it's up to like 480 milligrams of potassium. Okay, so it's pretty high in potassium. I mean, that's all it is potassium. So and potassium we know is important for plants when they're in bud production. Not only does it help promote healthy seeds if you're a breeder. I mean, you know, you want to have a good nutrient for bloom in your soil if you're a breeder.
Right.
And going through all the stuff that, you know, people use coconut water, banana tea is another one. Now, quite frankly, I dig all the guys that go through the trouble they go through to make the banana tea.
Yeah, I've heard that's a process.
But you can actually get powdered potassium also.
Really?
Okay, yeah, and you can get it from Build-A-Soil, I think, but I think we're going to be carrying it too here soon as we get everything lined out. But banana tea is another good potassium booster. Okay, and coconut water is much easier
Right.
than
Crack a can.
banana tea. But some people like doing the footwork. But you know, if you're brewing a microbial tea and you want to add a couple of tablespoons per gallon of water into your tea mix of coconut water, that would be what I would consider a great bloom booster. Okay, you know, doing it starting week 5, week 6 of flower is probably going to be your best. But you know, and you've got also, have I covered coconut water? What is coconut water? It's water out of a coconut.
Yeah.
I got this whole long list of shit that I was going to read, and I'm just like, who gives a shit about all this stuff? Okay, the fact of the matter is coconut water is clean.
Right.
Okay, coconut water can be used, yes, in all growing mediums. Cocoa core, obviously. Also, cocoa core is very high in potassium.
Is it really?
Okay, so yeah. So if you're using cocoa core based potting mix, you're getting a good solid form of potassium. And it does like to release it over time. It's a slow release.
Is it? Okay.
But it is a good steady release of potassium over time.
Very interesting. I didn't know cocoa core was potassium at all. I guess it makes sense.
It promotes chelation and nutrient uptakes and buffers the plants against dehydration and disease. Okay, in organic soil, and this is what we like to talk about, the goal is living grow medium that can satisfy the plant's needs without the use of artificial additives. Okay, so you know, it's a great additive for living soil and stuff.
Right.
But you know, yes, coconut water is great for your plants. I recommend 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water every time you water throughout bloom. Start week 4, week 5, week 6, whatever, but start and do that throughout bloom.
Right.
What I would do, and I have a different regimen, but I like to use coconut water if I see my plant needs a boost of potassium. I'll give it coconut. Whoa, okay, there we go.
It is giveaway time.
All right,
We
so
have a
what is
trivia
it?
question.
Trivia.
Let's go ahead and hit that
What's the trivia question?
Scroll up down a little for us. There, Gabe. There it is. All right, here's our trivia question. What is the molecular weight? I'm just going to call it by its short name of THC.
Tetrahydrocannabinol.
Yeah.
What is the molecular weight of tetrahydrocannabinol?
Yep.
Okay, so the first person to give us the molecular weight of THC.
Now, not of what you're smoking tonight.
No, the molecular weight. So get those fingers tapping on Google and get us an answer.
Right.
Anyway, so because I'm sure there's very few people, unless you're a biochemist and THC is your thing. Donald Foster, 3 point.
Damn, that was quick.
It's almost like pi. Isn't that crazy how?
314.45.
I mean, you know,
Donald Foster.
Anyway,
I actually
kinda,
thought that when I heard it earlier. I thought it's
3.14
it's just the
pi,
movement of a
isn't it?
decimal point,
right.
you know.
Yeah. Those universal correlations, though. that
Yeah,
are
I like pi.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
Certain kinds.
So, okay, Donald,
Congrats
you got
to
you
Donald.
a AOD beanie and some sugar cookies.
Yep.
Alien sugar cookies. Right on, brother. Okay, so let's go back. So, yeah, coconut water is the bomb. I love it. So, you know, to me, you would start week 3 or week 4 in bloom. The best case scenario, start with a tablespoon per gallon of water. And then once you hit week 5 or week 6, move it on up to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. In late bloom, it's going to be requiring more potassium. So that's what you kind of want to do, you know.
I know I probably went a little on the excessive side with the half can. I know it was probably a little on the, you know, it's in the okay range because my plants didn't burn
Yeah,
up.
that's what I was going to say. Maybe, but if the plants responded well.
Yeah, they did, but they were lacking too. They weren't,
right,
they were lacking, so I gave them that little bit of extra. If they weren't lacking, it probably would have burnt them. You know, maybe it caused a little extra damage. Who knows?
Right. Okay, molar mass. That's the mass, Rob. It's not the weight though. So
they're still coming though.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So anyway, so yes, coconut water is a great bloom booster. Banana tea, a great bloom booster. Okay. Now I want to use the term bloom booster real widely and real loosely when we're talking about organic plants. Okay, because here's the thing. Okay, if you add more phosphorus, because phosphorus is another macronutrient that the plants draw heavily on during bloom.
Okay.
So if you add more phosphorus, and a lot of people do this, okay? You especially people who are growing with salts do this quite a bit.
Right.
If you add more phosphorus and more potassium, but you rob the plant of nitrogen, the plant is going to shut down production because of the imbalance of nutrients, okay?
Okay.
If the plant is naturally going to stop taking up nitrogen. Now I'm talking about organic growing. I'm not talking about where we're driving the plants with salt-based nutrients. I'm talking about organic.
Right.
The plant is going to take out of the soil what it needs out of the soil when it needs it, okay?
And leave what it doesn't
and
need
it's going to
behind.
leave what it doesn't behind.
Right.
If you starve that plant of nitrogen in bloom, then it's going to shut down the production, but because you're starving it of one of the macronutrients it needs to continue to grow. Just because it doesn't need a lot of nitrogen doesn't mean it needs.
It still needs some.
It still needs a fair amount of nitrogen to grow. I mean, you'll notice a lot of bloom boosters go from 5 down to 3 in their nitrogen, and that's a good drop because they're not going to be requiring as much, but you can't cut the nitrogen out and basically what I'm saying is you've got to have that balance in there.
Right.
You can add as much phosphorus as you want, but if it throws the medium out of balance, it's going to be counterproductive.
Right. So no matter what, you've got to maintain that balance.
Right. You have to maintain, and that's the most important thing. I would rather be just enough. I would rather have just enough for the plant to get everything it needs than to have too much of one and not enough of the other.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'd rather it be struggling across the board just a little bit than to be out of balance and have too much of two and not enough of one.
Right.
Or anything like that. So the key is making sure the plant has everything it needs in a healthy soil environment. And let's throw this, most of the bloom boosters you buy, if you look at the bloom boosters you buy, there's very little active product in there.
Really?
Yeah, because and all they're doing is they're putting straight potassium or straight phosphorus to the plants, depending on what stage the plant's in.
Right.
And they're boosting that up, but they're boosting it very little because most of the time, the plant's drawing on the phosphorus and the potassium so hard in late bloom, that's where the nutrients are lacking when you're putting them in.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, sometimes depending on how you're feeding, you do see, especially if you're growing in salts, yes, you can see a huge boost in bud size in late bloom. But a lot of that's kind of mirrors and shades because your buds might be bigger, but they're not as dense a lot of times.
Right.
So you have to get that balance right.
Right.
To me, the best thing to do is to grow in a good quality medium, whether you make it yourself or whether you get it off the shelf and you have the right organic inputs and build yourself what you can do to make a living soil.
Right.
Growing in that type of environment in your root system and give it everything it needs and keep it in the right pH range and let the plant decide what it needs when it needs it. And if it's got all the phosphorus and all the potassium and all the nitrogen, and it's got all the calcium and magnesium and all the iron and zinc and all the other micronutrients it needs, and everything's in balance in there, the plant's going to take up exactly what it needs to give itself the biggest, fattest nugs, the frostiest nugs, the tastiest, the most terpiest nugs you can get.
Right, and if you've got a good living soil, it will maintain it'll help regenerate itself with a lot of those. The bacteria and all the stuff in that soil helps regenerate itself.
And if you see your stems starting to purple early, or anything like that, I absolutely, one of the hardest things to do when growing organically, unless you're using bottled nutrients, is to get nutrients that are available immediately into the soil, okay? And so there's only really a few ways. Like if you think you have a potassium deficiency, to me, there's no better way to get potassium into your soil right now than with something like coconut water or a good banana tea. I have not personally been able to perfect the art of the banana tea because coconut water is too easy. Crack open a can, boom, there it is, you're done, and it's pure coconut water. But
so I've got a question I'm going to ask, and I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways for the show because I think there's people that don't know. Can you, in a living soil, can you take a salt-based bloom booster and use it in a living soil?
Well, you can do anything you want.
Now, what will that do to your living soil?
Well, it depends on how heavy you use it. If you use it heavy and you saturate the soil with it, chances are you're going to kill off your microbial life.
Okay.
And you stop your organic soil dead in its tracks, and now you're not growing with organic soil. You're not growing with living soil for sure.
Right. You might as well go and get bottled
nutrients. You just from that point out, you need to keep feeding. Right. Because in my experience, you kill the Rob agrees, absolutely not. It's going to nuke your soil and kill your microbes.
Yep.
That's what it does. In my experience, that's what it does.
Right.
So if you're gonna add like beastie blooms or some shit like that to your soil after you're trying to grow living soil, don't come crying to me when it starts dying. Because
I learned this.
You know
firsthand.
the answer to this.
Yeah, I know the anscer to this. I have had a few crops.
I know you do. So
and I've heard other people say that as well. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. You can't use salts and have a living soil.
Well, you can.
But you can't have them at the same time.
No, you can't. You can't.
It's one or the other.
Once you start feeding salts, you may as well just keep feeding salts.
Right.
And that's just how it's going to be, and you'll get what you get. So the best thing, and here's the thing: the main reason that I find that people switch over to feeding salts when they're in the middle of an organic grow is just this: their plant starts suffering, and they can't get what they need into the soil fast enough because they don't have the information they need to know that you can go buy some high phosphorus seabird guano and top dress it into the soil, and it's available within probably 48 hours of when it goes into the soil.
Right.
Okay. You can get some coconut water and get potassium into the soil.
There's quick fixes.
And again, if you've got a good quality worm casting that's made with a lot of care, like the worm poupon guys do. If you've got that, then you've got a good base for nutrients there too. That's going to have an NPK rating, and that's do what?
Well, Mike asked, how can you tell if you have a potassium deficiency?
Ooh.
Okay, now honestly, that's something I'm going to cover next week, so I'm not going to give that away.
Tune in next week to find out
next
the answer
week,
to that one.
Huh? Mike Hurl. Okay, Mike. Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about recognizing excess and deficiency. So because I kind of like the subject because bloom is my favorite time of the year. Worm castings and a good compost will also help correct a nutrient deficiency at any stage, and it will bring things to balance. But if you need to get those nutrients into your soil and have them available immediately, a banana tea or some other kind, a microbial tea where you use bananas and potassium, and then it's got a good balance of other nutrients in it. The microbes have already been in there working, making those nutrients available. You pour it in there, and that's available almost immediately.
Oh, yeah. 24 hours.
And
see a
you get
difference.
those in there. So, but you know, you got to get your mind off of bloom boosters and stuff, because I've been saying it for years. You know, if I was a nutrient company, the only thing I'm in business for is to take and relieve you of as much of your money as possible.
Right.
Okay? They got all these pretty things that do all these great, magical things to your plants.
Know that
Yeah.
40% of it
Miracles.
is
Yeah.
trash.
A good majority of it is bullshit. Okay?
Well,
Straight out.
even what you use, a lot of it gets wasted. Goes
Washed right down the soil.
yeah, down the drain, whatever.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I agree 100%. So,
That's actually,
yeah.
hang on, I'm sorry. That's what Ron was saying. The best thing for him regarding the living soils, he's not pouring any chemicals down the drain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And that's how they want to that's how they need to fix farmland.
Right.
That
Right.
they've been pouring
Absolutely.
fertilizers on for all this time.
Right.
It's dead, and they need to bring it back to life with microbes in order to actually create a sustainable farmland.
Right.
And
I mean,
so-
I think it's weird, man. Have you ever watched Kiss the Ground?
No, but
Okay,
I've heard.
you need
I
to
heard
watch
good
Kiss the
things.
Ground.
Yeah, maybe it was you
he-
that's telling me about
And
it.
here's the
Kiss the
thing
Ground.
that you know, I kind of knew, but I didn't really. It didn't really hit me the way it did when they explained it. You know, over the years, you know, normally you take the cattle and you graze them on a land, and then the next year you graze them in a different pasture, and then the next year you graze them in a different pasture, and where you grazed them the year before, you raise their food for them to eat for the next year. And you do that. Well, now what they do is they take all the cattle and they put them in a big yard, and then they just farm the land that the cattle would normally graze on, and they dump all the feed into a big bucket. Okay, so there's not that natural regeneration of cow manure
Right.
and things like that going on in that ground, and that's what kills the soil and turns it into dirt.
So I
Because
actually
dirt
know-
is dead soil.
I know another thing that they do is they plant soybeans in fields. If I'm not mistaken, it's nitrogen though. Soybeans do produce nitrogen in the soil. It's either nitrogen or potassium.
Nitrates, yeah.
We have a big tree farm next to us, and they had a crop of trees go out in the next season. It was all soybeans.
Right.
So I found that out as well. Soybeans can help condition the soil as well.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back, but we did miss our Ask Top Shelf
Yep.
question tonight, and I am going to get to that because
Yes.
it was a specific request that I talk about it. Did somebody else have a question?
Yeah, what about
Bokashi.
Oh, Bokashi.
Bokashi.
You know what? That's a
Is that a
completely
waste?
different ball game. No, Bokashi's not a waste. If you're seeing benefits with it, use it. All I can say is try it. If you want to try, a Bokashi is it's a fermented yeast basically that you feed your plants, and the microbes just tear it up. From what I understand, you know, I don't know the science behind
Yeah.
it, but I know that it's not bad to add to your soil. So I have nothing bad to say about Bokashi, and no, it is not bullshit. It's good stuff. I do not use it. That being said, you know, it is not. That doesn't mean it's not good just because I don't use it. I just don't find a place for it in my garden.
right.
You know, I got so much other stuff going on. Good grief, man. I mean, if I added everything to my soil I'd be adding fish shit, Bokashi,
Don't
worm
forget the
poo.
fish shit.
I mean, all kinds of stuff, man. I'd have so many things to add.
Bokashi's a really cool concept. You know, it's like it takes the organic waste and it breaks it down in a certain way. Like people make it at home and they put their food waste
Right.
from their table.
Right.
They put their table scraps in it, and then they put this. Gosh, I wish I had more information about it. But some of the active ingredient in this stuff you can get it ferments it, and it becomes amazingly available nutrients for the
Yes.
plant. It's really cool, but
Yes.
it's a process.
Yes,
Oh, I
it is a
bet.
process.
And if you do it yourself, it will
stinks.
Oh, I've heard it stinks pretty bad.
It
Yeah.
stinks. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna do the Ask Top Shelf question, our viewer questions, when we come back. But right now, it's time for us to go to the news. Hit that news, Gabriel.
Are you a Missouri patient looking for other options besides your local dispensary? Have you considered finding a caregiver but found the process to be confusing and hard to navigate? We understand, and that's why we created Farmers Market. Missouri's freelance marketplace for licensed caregivers to conveniently offer their services to Missouri patients. Sign up today at farmersmarket.com.
It's time for the Top Shelf Weekly Update with Stuart Wells.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Top Shelf Weekly Update. You know how we're always saying that regulations surrounding cannabis hinder urgent research? I mean, we're always saying that, right? Well, hang on to your britches because federal scientists agree. In a paper published by the National Cancer Institute, a research team of 6, including authors from federal agencies such as the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the National Institutes of Health and Food, turn a critical eye on cannabis regulatory systems in the United States. Writing that administrative burdens stifle much-needed scientific investigation into the drug's potential health applications and safety concerns. Do I need to be concerned? The article published this in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute Monographs says that conflicting federal and state cannabis regulations hinder research in several ways, including the inability of researchers to access products that are legal in their state. Also, a lack of standardization and quality control of cannabis and cannabis-derived products within and across the state, and no national oversight of this standardization and quality control. With most states having legalized cannabis in some form, an array of new and relatively unstudied products have appeared on the recreational and medical markets. The authors wrote that with widespread availability of novel cannabis and cannabinoid products, there is an urgent need to understand their safety and potential effectiveness for medical indications. But sadly, barriers stemming from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, including bureaucratic red tape and a requirement that all approved projects obtain cannabis from the National Institute for Drug Abuse, mean that research and thus scientific awareness do not keep pace with how real-world products are being used. The article goes on to say that the administrative challenges for cannabinoid research include the single domestic source requirement for cannabis, complex and lengthy registration processes there, and that pesky Schedule I classification. Even if all those hurdles are cleared, because of the time, expenses, and regulatory knowledge required to get a single study started in this field, researchers will frequently opt not to pursue work in this area. Consequently, although more issues need to be addressed by diverse experts, the field will likely continue to be limited to those institutions and researchers who have historically pursued this work. The article is titled Challenges for Clinical Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research in the United States and is a part of a series of papers that resulted from an online symposium last year organized by the National Cancer Institute, focusing on the state of science surrounding cannabinoids and cancer. The 9-paper collection also includes articles on cannabis policy and public health, cancer risks, and non-medical cannabis use, as if there was such a thing, using cannabinoids to treat the effects of cancer and chemotherapy, and cannabinoids' possible role in cancer treatment and prevention. So, our next story comes to us all the way from Missouri. A company denied licenses to grow medical cannabis in Missouri urged the state Supreme Court just this morning to compel regulators to provide application info that the health department has argued that they are constitutionally obligated to protect. At issue is the DHSS refusal to turn over applications of successful license holders despite being ordered by lower courts to disclose them. DHSS has relied on a provision in the constitutional amendment that legalized medical cannabis in Missouri in 2018. Part of the language that voters approved stipulates that DHSS shall maintain the confidentiality of reports or other information or records related to the licensee or its operation. In its filing with the Missouri Supreme Court, DHSS argued that the Administrative Hearing Commission acted outside of its authority and requested the lower court's decision to be reversed in order to uphold the confidentiality outlined in the state's constitution. James Layton, an attorney arguing on behalf of DHSS, said that it is the right of applicants who submitted information for it to be kept confidential and urged the Missouri Supreme Court to, quote, vindicate the rights of those who invested their money, personal interest, and confidential information. However, Joshua Hill, an attorney representing the California-based company Kings Garden Midwest LLC, who was denied licenses by the state, argued that people denied licenses have a right to appeal the state's rejection. He said that the state has chosen winners and losers in this case. Pardon me for a moment. Serious cottonmouth going on here. Kings Garden filed two applications for licenses to grow medical cannabis, but was denied by the state for each of those. In its appeal, the company requested that unredacted, complete copies of approved applications be produced in order to demonstrate its belief that it submitted answers that were similar to successful applicants but received a lower score. Hill is quoted as saying, "We know that to be true in this case because Kings Garden has two identical cultivation applications that were submitted to the department," later adding that those two identical applications were not scored consistently. He says they had 4 points on one question and 10 points on the other application for the same responses. DHSS' own scoring guide notes that if two applicants applying for the same facility type provide identical responses to a question, the score must be the same. DHSS capped the number of licenses it awarded to cultivators, manufacturers, and dispensaries and used a private company, Wise Health Solutions, to score applications. The decision to cap the number of licenses issued and concerns over the scoring process have both been the subject of lawsuits and complaints from denied applicants. In May, a Missouri Court of Appeals in the Western District ruled that DHSS regulators were wrong to withhold applications. Judge Lisa Hardwick wrote, "Since applications were ranked competitively, comparing them against one another was necessary to determine whether the state denied a license in an arbitrary or capricious manner." In its brief, Kings Garden Midwest argued that confidential information is not immune from discovery in lawsuits and noted that the Administrative Hearing Commission entered a protective order. It also allowed for state regulators to redact applicants' identifying information when providing the documents that have been requested. So what they're saying is, hey, we just want to see the answers to the questions, redact all personal information, and that's Kings Garden, but of course DHSS are the ones that are urging the Supreme Court to overrule it. This is really complicated, but I must say, there are just some things in this industry that when you see it happening, all you can do is be thankful not to be involved. So, anyway, that brings me to a positive news out of St. Louis yesterday, as the mayor signed finally a bill to decriminalize cannabis possession and cultivation for adults. Yay! A local reform that comes as efforts to legalize cannabis statewide in Missouri for adult use are also gaining momentum. The St. Louis ordinance signing comes weeks after the Board of Aldermen unanimously, I like that, approved the legislation, which makes it so adults 21 and older can possess up to 2 ounces of cannabis without facing civil penalty that is currently in place. It will also make it so that no resources could be spent to punish adults for cultivating up to 6 cannabis plants. I guess it's worth noting that the measure only affects local policy and does not change Missouri state laws that continue to criminalize cannabis for non-medical use. Disclaimer. Mayor Tishora Jones was quoted at the signing ceremony saying that we are seeing a major shift in the way that our country sees not just cannabis, but how it connects to public safety, incarceration, and economic opportunity in our communities. Amazing. This law will help reduce racial disparities in our policing, make our city safer, and make St. Louis more competitive in hiring for city positions. End quote. The newly enacted policy will further permit city employees who are medical cannabis patients to present their state-issued ID cards, which I never got a state-issued ID card, to avoid adverse employer actions based on a positive test for cannabis, but I guess you could print it out. Police will also be prevented from using the smell or visual presence of cannabis smoke as a basis to conduct a search or arrest someone. Right? Activities that will remain criminalized will include providing cannabis to minors, I'm looking at you, Abigail, possessing excess cannabis, as if there is a such thing, and selling cannabis at a property that prohibits it. But who would want to go there and sell cannabis anyway? So, that's it. I'm Stuart. That's the news.
All right, welcome back, guys. How's everyone?
This is our second dab in.
Dab in
Like
deuce.
second breakfast.
Yeah, what about the second dab in?
Yeah.
Did you
and
just make a
third.
Hobbit reference? Second breakfast?
Yeah. So in St. Louis you can grow some weed and the local cops won't do anything to you. And you can have some. You can have only 2 ounces though.
Yeah, but I thought they said you could only have 2 plants or something too.
No, you can do 6 plants.
6?
Well, okay, it says that no, I mean, the way that was worded, it says that no, law enforcement monetary resources can go to punish anybody for cultivating up to 6 plants.
Word.
So, yeah.
And they have no, if they see you smoking, they can't do anything. Amanda Trout got it. So what's changed?
We knew that one was going to
All right, yeah. Amanda Trout got what's changed, and she got a beanie,
Yep.
a bag
Nice.
of alien sugar cookies,
And it slapped.
and some slaps.
Some slaps.
Ooh. Yeah, yabba dabba doo.
Oh, boy.
All right, cool. So, awesome. Good news, Stuart. Good news, man.
What, you got some good news?
No, that was good news.
Oh.
Good news.
That was some good news.
Good news, bad news, it's all news. So no news is good news, like Gary's good news.
I think people look forward to Stewart's news, though.
Oh, they do, man. They're pissed off at you, Zach. You got that hashtag wrong.
I know.
I mean, that's how it goes.
I got the hashtag. I didn't put is. I put Stu's my news. And
Oh.
Stu is my news.
Ain't no thing.
So I'll get that fixed for next week.
We're not perfect up in here,
We ain't even trying to be.
right?
So, all right. Yeah, you know what? We got that top shelf, Ask Top Shelf.
Yep.
So let's do that, Gabe. Let's do Ask Top Shelf.
All right. So viewer question: What do you know?
How
if
do you
How do
know?
you know if you have spider mites?
How do you?
And
That's the.
I
That's
didn't
the
do the
viewers.
second. I didn't get the second part of the question in there, I guess. But how do you get rid of them? Was the second part.
Okay, I knew
Well-
there was more than one part to that question. How do you know if there's spider mites?
And how do you get rid of them?
Anybody want to answer that, or do you want? me to
Well,
answer it?
I mean,
y'all know better than I do. 'Cause I don't
I
get
have
'em.
never dealt with spider mites.
I don't
well,
get them.
let's just say that we were somewhere yesterday, and they were describing an issue with their cannabis plant, and they said it has like, let's see, how do I describe it? Speckled leaves, and I was like, speckled leaves, because when I hear speckled leaves, I instantly have a panic attack,
Right.
and I go home and I do integrated pest management like right then and there, because that's how whenever I got spider mites, that's what I started noticing. I'm like, man, that leaf looks awfully funny. It looks
Yeah.
kind of
Speckled.
speckled, if you will. And then sure enough, man, it was like, oh my God, because they were everywhere.
Yep.
And then they were everywhere.
Yep. So
And now I think they're on me right now.
they might be.
They might be,
They might
because
be.
they're so small.
I know.
They hide.
They do, and they jump. So
That's right.
the first sign that you're going to notice of spider mites is, unless you're constantly going over your leaves with a scope, you're going to notice little white speckles all over your fan leaves. Maybe probably just
top
like
side.
one leaf or two leaves, and it's usually up, on the upper side, closer to where the lights are at.
Well,
not all
top
the way,
side
but
of
yeah.
the leaf, I
Top
mean,
side,
but yeah.
side of the leaf, but.
Damian Green said suddenly he wants to go check his plants.
I know, right? It's just, okay, so, but yeah, and sometimes you can actually see mites crawling on the leaves if you've got really good eyesight and have good,
Yeah.
good close-up vision. But generally, it's best you're gonna want to look, regardless with the scope. So if you don't have a scope, a 60 to 100 times zoom scope, go on to Amazon and just put in 60 to 100 times zoom scope, and the scope will come up, and they're just a little, I don't have mine in here, but they're like $14.
Right.
And
Man,
you
for
need
like
one.
$30, you
Yeah.
get the digital one that
Oh, you can hook
kicks
to your phone.
ass.
Yeah, you
stuff.
can do that, but
You don't need
you
it,
don't need
but-
it,
right.
And there's a learning curve to using it, but you'll see little white spots, like maybe somebody shook some pepper on your leaf or something, but it just looks like
Yeah, they're never coming
there's
back
just
into
little
my room.
white speckles, right? I hate them. I hate
Yeah.
spider mites. So
So I do have a picture of what they look like on the extreme.
okay.
Oh,
show the-
no.
Do
I'm
the-
afraid.
There you go. There's an
Oh, yeah.
extreme.
That's you got spider mites if you got that.
Right.
Now, can you save that plant from those spider mites? Yeah, you actually can.
Really?
You can just get a vacuum cleaner and vacuum all those
That's
webs up.
so
I'm not
true.
joking.
I know.
There's a
You
spider
can get
mite.
a vacuum cleaner, and that's a red spider mite, okay? The one we have most common around here is a
Two-spotted.
two-spotted spider mite.
Oh, really?
And it's a little white spider mite with two spots side by side, and that's how you know it's a two-spotted spider mite. But yeah, you can actually vacuum off that infected area there if you want to, and save that plant if you're desperate. But that's pretty much when it's over. I mean, they've nested and they've built their webs, and I mean,
Right.
literally, I've walked out of my garden one night, shut the doors, came back the next day when the lights came on, opened the doors, and the whole room is just a solid covered with webs. And this is when I wasn't, really paying attention, and I was very wrapped up in some things that were going on in my life, and they caught me by surprise, man, and it destroyed a whole freaking grow, man. I chopped them, got rid of them, nuked the room, nuked the whole place. I mean, we You
That's
know,
what John Sharp
yeah.
says.
Like
At
with
that
an
point, kill 'em
actual
all and burn 'em
nuclear
all,
bomb.
yeah,
Maybe
and-
radiation of some kind.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, go in there and just, you know,
You got to get some plutonium. Just
some
Yeah.
Agent Orange,
an
Agent Orange bomb.
So
So
it's
how-
not the end of the world, but it
No.
sucks, boy. They sure do
Yeah.
run. They run your plants through the ringer.
What I would do with a plant that was overly infected. Now, if you're seeing your first signs of spider mites, what I'm going to recommend is that you go get a Ziploc bag. Don't pop the leaf off of the plant. Go get a Ziploc bag. Put the Ziploc bag over the leaf without rustling the leaf as much as you can, and then pinch that leaf off and put it in the bag. And do that with every infected leaf. And what that's going to do is that's going to take the bugs in the area where you're noticing the damage. That's where they're most concentrated at. So that's going to take the highest concentration of the live insects and the eggs that they've laid. Because if they
Right.
damage the leaves on top, they've laid eggs underneath that leaf.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's going to get that off of the plant, the highest area of concentration off
Right.
of the plant. And then you're going to treat the plant with some sort of topical solution
Okay.
to, you know, some sort of either natural or chemical pesticide, whatever you choose. But, you know, there's a whole lot of things you can use to get rid of spider mites. The problem that you have is you have to alternate them when you're using a chemical of any sort, even if it's an organic cure. You usually have to alternate what the active ingredients is, because if you,
Oh,
whoa, there we
got
go.
a wheel of dank.
Oh, wow, we're already there, man.
Yeah, we
all
are.
right.
Wanna
Wheel
bring
of
up that
dank, brother,
wheel?
bring it up. Who's got the wheel?
Go ahead and hit the view
Who's
on
got
that.
the herb when I'm dry?
There you go.
I want to get so high.
Who we got? Who's
got
our
the
winner
herb
for
when I'm
tonight?
dry? I want to get so high. Who is it?
Rachel Nafzinger.
Nafzinger.
You got it, Rachel. Hit us up, man.
Congratulations.
You got a beanie and some beans and some
Yep, it's
slaps.
a good night to win tonight.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Get a beanie.
Keep your head warm.
Perfect time of year for it.
I'm saying, man, it's like
So-
beanie necessity time anyway.
All right, let's fast forward this stuff. So yeah, anyway, getting rid of them. You want to isolate the infected areas and get them off of there in the beginning
Well,
stages.
what about if, let's just first talk about what stage, or veg or bloom? Like, what are you,
Well, I'm just going to say, you know, what I would do in veg is no different than what I would do in bloom. Now,
Okay.
if I'm in, it's just, I mean,
because I would, I'd probably clean up, I'd probably defoliate.
Oh yeah, in veg, I would clean the
Right,
plants up
yeah.
to nothing.
I mean, that, you
Yeah.
know, if you take away almost all of the leaves, you take away everywhere that they can live. But I mean, in bloom, it's a lot
The
different.
only
but-
counter I see to that is you stress the plant out when you do that, and it makes it actually more susceptible to insect infestation. But that's something we could debate all day.
Right. right.
Because I don't disagree with what you're saying, that will get rid of most of the spider mites. But what I've come to use, there are a lot of products out there you can use. Worst case scenario ever, the worst thing I've ever used is Avid. And it's become very popular since broad mites and russet mites have become popular, because that's one of the only things that'll kill them. But it's very harmful. It's not a clean product. I wouldn't spray that on my plants if they were going to be going into bloom anytime within, 3 to 4 weeks.
Now is that
like
is that
6
the-
months.
Yeah, right.
Is that similar to like neem oil as well?
No.
No, Avid is on like a whole. Avid's like
Avid's an
if
industrial.
Neem, yeah,
insect.
Neem is
Okay.
like this nice hippie commune. You know,
Okay.
I know people got their
Avid is
issues
Hitler.
with Neem. Yeah, Avid is like evil robot
Okay.
death tower.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Darth Vader, the Sith.
Going to succeed
Right.
at killing all
what I
this
love-
stuff,
that's why I
right?
love doing
Unless
that
it's
stuff.
built up.
Right,
Unless
well.
it's built up an immunity to it.
And then
And then you're not going to kill
just
it.
quit
So-
growing.
But I'm going to recommend a product. The product I would use is the product I have used here lately has been a product called Green Cleaner.
Yeah.
the green.
Green Cleaner.
Nancy Perez
Okay.
wants to know where they come from.
Spider mites.
Yeah.
Hell.
They come from mommy and daddy spider mites that lay eggs.
from somewhere else.
They come from the plants outside.
Right.
A lot of times cats bring them in because cats go out and they're all in the bushes and they get them on their fur and they bring them in and then they go into your garden and then they get there. You can bring them in if you go to the nursery and buy plants at the nursery and bring them into your house. You might have got them on your clothes and then you go into your garden or you go outside and mess with your plants outside and then you go into your garden and mess with your plants inside and you've just brought spider mites in possibly. Dogs will bring them in. If you've gotten cuttings from somewhere, a lot of times those cuttings come in with different bugs on them, different insects. A lot of times now, if you're getting anything that comes from a legal state, I would quarantine it for 2 to 3 weeks. Anything I would quarantine for 2 to 3 weeks and just bomb the crap out of it with
something good.
Yeah,
whatever you choose.
Because just make sure that it's clean before you put it into your garden because 90% of the time it's going to have insects on it. So, but yeah, so they come from outside, man, and we bring them in various ways. So that's why you should always change your clothes when you come in home and before you go into your garden. I generally go into my garden and do my gardening first thing in the morning. Right. So I'm fresh. Yeah. So I haven't gone outside yet.
Now what about predatorial bugs?
Predatorial bugs are great, but that's gonna be, if you have a severe infestation, you can release some ladybugs. They'll get them halfway under control. Brad Askren, no, I'm not a fan of diatomaceous earth, and people will call me crazy, but I would never use it.
Crazy.
But I'm crazy. So yeah.
Crazy boy.
Crazy. Crazy for feeling so lonely.
Anyway, don't use the stuff.
Yeah, I don't use that. Anyway, but you can if you like. Yeah, so green cleaner, I like it because the insects do not form an immunity to it, okay? And it is all natural, it is clean. They say you can use it all through bloom. I don't know about that. I know you can use it late in bloom and it won't affect the end crop.
What's the active ingredient?
I don't know,
Isn't
dude.
it
I have to have it in front of me.
Isn't it isopropyl alcohol in that one?
That's one of the active ingredients, yeah.
Right.
And that hits that and just dries them out, you know.
And it also boasts that it will run your powdery mildew off too.
Well, that's what it was originally made for is bud rot. And I know for a fact it'll stop bud rot dead in its tracks. Stop it dead in its tracks. In week 5, 6 of bloom, you get bud rot and you just hit that spot where you see bud rot with that green cleaner, it will stop it dead in its tracks. So it's good stuff for that. And it also gets russet mites, broad mites, aphids, whitefly. It's good stuff, you know. But you have to follow the instructions. The biggest thing I see that people don't get the effects of the pest management products is because they don't follow the instructions.
Right.
When you have spider mites, they lay eggs every few days.
Right.
Okay, so you
days.
Well,
so
then when you're treating, you've already got eggs in place.
Yes, so you've got to treat and kill the live bugs, and then you got to wait for the eggs that are going to hatch in 5 to 7 days. You don't know when.
And that's if you even got everywhere.
Right, and then treat them again.
It's just like lice. Yeah.
And you've got to treat them again. So you got to treat them every other day for the first week at least. And that will knock the shit out of most of your mite problems. And then you go 2 times a week for the next couple weeks after that. Yeah, it's a process.
Wow.
You're not just going to get rid of them because they're as soon as they're born, within 24 hours, they're laying eggs, man.
Wow.
So
even if they don't have a mate, right? Like they'll lay eggs and they asexually reproduce.
Absolutely, right. Yeah.
So they're
all you need to bring is one to your garden.
Right.
Yep.
One, and if you give it time, it will multiply. And so so spider mites are no joke. It's probably one of the main insects that you're ever going to deal with, other than like gnats, which aren't that big of a deal unless you have a huge infestation.
I hang out with gnats. Spider mites, they can't come over. Gnats, I'm like, hey, y'all are good.
Security gets spider mites at the door.
Right.
So. Oh, right on, everybody. Well, you know what, man? It's been a great show. It just keeps
Yes, it
getting
has.
gooder and gooder and
Dab
gooder.
out time?
It is dab out time. We are dabbing out.
That did go fast.
You got your caviar in my diamonds.
Oh man.
I got my diamonds in your caviar.
I'm very pleased with this cocoa.
I like what Coco does.
The caviar from Coco.
I
Very
like
good
what
stuff.
Coco does.
Oh yeah.
I was just saying last week I like what
smooth.
Coco does. Coco Beware. We were just talking
Coco
about Coco
Beware.
We were just
Yes.
talking about Coco. Who knows who Coco Beware was?
Cocoa beware.
Mike Dabbins of Pineapple Express. Who's Coco Beware? Anybody?
Y'all know. Somebody knows.
Because
And
it
we
ain't
need some
me.
music here.
We do need a little
Right? It is
music.
a little
Uh,
quiet.
but
Come on,
We
who's
can
Coco?
answer?
Who's Coco
Damien,
Beware?
you don't know who Coco
Blended
Beware is?
blazing.
You're not old enough.
Coco.
There you
Oh,
go.
damn.
Nothing like
Yes.
homegrown.
He was a wrestler in the '80s. Had a
okay.
ooh, yeah. Had a
Back
bird.
Had a
Back when
bird.
wrestling was good.
Yeah, back when wrestling was entertaining.
When it was real, when I was young, of course.
Yeah, back before it became fake.
Yeah.
It was real wrestling.
Friggin' sellouts.
I know, right? When they went to WWE.
I mean, come on.
man.
Oh, there we go.
That's like Van Hagar, man.
Right? All I know is when I saw Bob Backlund choke out Bret Hart in Survivor Series 1994.
Dude.
That was not fake.
And that was the end of real wrestling right there, man.
Well, yeah, when Bret Hart went down for the championship.
That was the end of it all, man. You know what, everybody? This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're going to say good night. Peace out, everybody. Stay lifted.
Do it.
Are you a Missouri patient looking for other options besides your local dispensary? Have you considered finding a caregiver but found the process to be confusing and hard to navigate? We understand, and that's why we created Farmers Market, Missouri's freelance marketplace for licensed caregivers to conveniently offer their services to Missouri patients. Sign up today at farmersmarket.com.
Welcome to Kansas City Cannabis. your hometown, locally owned and operated cannabis dispensary. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff will guide you through your journey to wellness. Patients First is our guiding mantra, and will continue to bring quality, affordable medicine to the patients of Missouri. Kansas City Cannabis Company, inspiring wellness. Now open in Kearney and Blue Springs. Coming soon to Lake Lotawana and Excelsior Springs. For location, hours, and current menu, visit kccannabis.org.